Have you ever watched a movie that felt like a genuine slap in the face? Like you watch a movie and just kind of sit there like someone just spit in your cornflakes? I think there's a definite merit when it comes to horror movies trying new things and not being afraid to fail. Sometimes one's ideas don't always stick their landing, and that's okay. What rubs me the wrong way is when a movie falls flat on its face because of a complete lack of effort, and that's exactly what Jeepers Creepers Reborn feels like. I don't think I've ever watched a movie before that felt so aimless and downright offensive with just how bad it is, but I guess there's a first time for everything. Before we begin, if you guys like my content, consider leaving a comment and subscribing. It really helps the channel grow and certainly helps keep me motivated to keep making these videos.
You ever heard of the Creeper?
The first two Jeepers Creepers movies are some of my favorite creature features of all time, and actually gave me nightmares growing up. It's genuinely one of my favorite creature designs of all time, and the only thing scarier than the creeper itself is the piece of shit who directed the first three movies, Victor Salva. After the abysmal disappointment and outright shit show that was Jeepers Creepers 3, the series would lie in dormancy for almost half a decade until it was announced in 2021 that a reboot of this series was in development. I'm not gonna lie to you, it's hard not to be cynical when I see these franchise reboots for series that aren't even really that old. They feel like cash grabs fueled by the legacy of something they had no part in building up. Regardless, I managed to find a showing by me and I figured I'd go, since I had also seen the previous film in theaters. I have a morbid enough curiosity when it comes to lowbrow schlock like this, but I'm gonna be honest, this has to be one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. I know that's such an overblown and quite frankly an all too commonly used phrase, but I don't think there's a word in any human dialect on this earth that can truly do justice to how fucking terrible this movie is. Do you realize how bad your movie has to be to make me wonder if it's worse than Slender Man of all things? It's like I peered into the void and this movie is what stared back. The plot follows a couple heading to a horror festival where they have the misfortune of crossing paths with the creeper, though in this movie there's some weird cult shenanigans going on in the background that don't really amount to anything. Simple plot, but these movies have never been one for groundbreaking storytelling. They knew what we were here for when we saw those original movies. Reborn acts as a reboot of the series and completely ignores the Salva trilogy outside of a cheeky nod to the beginning of the first movie. Very kind of this movie to remind us that there's better options to watch in this franchise. If there's one thing you can never take away from those original movies, is that the creeper and his design were so distinct and downright terrifying thanks to the practical effects and good stunt work. Sadly, the effects for the creeper in this movie are pretty bad, but it's not surprising when you realize this movie had half the budget of the original movie and it was filmed 20 years after the fact. The lack of budget also affects how the movie looks in general. The sets are incredibly cheap and uninspired, while the kills are painfully dull and honestly downright laughable. I'm not joking when I say these are, no pun intended, some of the most lifeless kills I've ever seen in a horror movie in recent years. Every kill is either off-screen or the effects work is so poor that I honestly end up wishing those kills were off-screen as well. I know you're sitting there watching this video, probably thinking, there's no way this movie could get any worse, right? And I wish I could tell you that it gets better, but it honestly doesn't. It's so painfully obvious that this movie was shot in a studio lot. There's no real distinction between areas, so everything just sort of ends up blending together. When it comes to the characters, they're basically non-existent when it comes to personality, and I can't remember any of their names for the life of me. Our two leading characters have no discernible personality traits whatsoever, and every supporting actor gives a performance that tells me they don't even want to be there in the first place. And after seeing the final product, I can, well, totally see why. It sucks to sit here and tear this movie to shreds, but god damn man, this is like a big pot of dookie gumbo, and it makes it even worse knowing that they're making a trilogy out of this reboot. If they actually continue to make more of these movies, I can't imagine what direction they will take, but after that initial viewing of this movie, I don't think I have the mental fortitude to put myself through something like this again. If you haven't seen this movie, I'm imploring you to not let curiosity get the better of you and avoid this movie like weed in a Dare commercial. I don't like to review movies that I outright hate, but Jeepers Creepers was such a big part of my life that I wanted to give this reboot a chance, and I promised myself I'd make this review whether the movie was good or not. Hopefully, the next review won't be of a movie that comes from the lowest level of cinematic hell, but if it is, at least we'll be able to have some laughs at its expense, right? Until then though, I hope you guys enjoyed this review of mine, and if you'd like to see more, maybe comment down below with a movie you'd like to see me cover. But above all else, make sure to be kind to one another, and keep enjoying horror. Bye!